Welcome back, viewers. I want to bring you a brief history of Stephen Foster, but I just want to talk about his life, the merits and achievements he's been awarded with. Aside from that, I also believe that it is unfair to call Stephen Foster the father of American music. Foster's made most of his bread and butter during the Minstrel Show, which was a series of theatric acts that sought to exaggerate and embarrass minorities with the use of blackface. And it was during this time that Stephen became highly regarded as the songwriter that many people know of today. I don't want to take away from the publicity, praise, and genius that Stephen Foster built over time, but when you look at the fact that he was coined the father of American music, you have to admit it may have been a little biased, especially considering there were many Americans after him leading into the present day who come from a more diverse background, to say the least, that left a bigger imprint on what we know today as American music. And much of them could just as well be considered the father of American music as Stephen Foster is. So why is Stephen Foster considered the father of American music? This is What's Next TV, where I discuss current events and other relevant issues pertaining to social justice, inequality, discrimination, and diversity. Foster was born in Pittsburgh, Lawrenceville in 1826. And around this time, the city was leaning more towards pro-slavery. At the time, the town had mixed feelings about the ideas of slavery, as some favored the institution and continued to partake in plantation ownership and slave trading, to say the least, while others opposed, with some people going as far as hiding slaves in their place of residence when they escaped from the South. The South being the half of the states that was more notorious for the captivity of enslaved people. But overall, Stephen Foster was born and raised in a city that favored either side, which would make his view on slavery uncertain, if anything. Better yet, the notion that his music was made to give sympathy for slaves would be uncertain, as many claimed that his songs were used to further oppress slaves because many of the slaves expressed a state of being happy or carefree, an era of our time that was anything but. Only thing that is certain is that the whole country sang his songs. Stephen was a musical genius since he was a boy, basically self-learning instruments like the clarinet, the piano, guitar, and violin. With the talent he possessed and learning alongside a German composer, he was more than equipped to take his profession to the next level. And that's what he did when he performed in his first minstrel at the age 9 as blackface. By the time he was 14, he began to compose his own music by singing and tune stroking of the many instruments he was now well acquainted with. And when he had reached the age of 18, he had published his first song, Open Thy Lattice Love, which was in short a love song.
Open thy lattice, love, listen to me. In the voyage of life, love our pilot will be. He will sit at the helm wherever we rove, and steer by the lodestar he kindled above.
It was important to note that Foster was highly influenced by popular minstrel show songs from a black church that he attended for a short time, and from songs sang by black laborers at a warehouse he had worked for a short period of time. Foster also was highly influenced by Thomas Dan Rice. They met in 1840, and Dan was a blackface performer himself. He often dressed and acted like a clown while mocking slaves. Dan often exaggerated black people's dialects and body movements, and even created Jump Jim Crow, the famous clown, song, and dance that was simply racist as hell.
About and turn about and do just so. Every time I wheel about, I jump Jim Crow.
For freedom and for union all together, although I'm a black man, the white is called my brother. Wheel about, it's very common among the white to marry and get divorced, but that I'll never do unless I'm really forced. Tell my brother niggers, I do not think it right that you should laugh at them who happen to be white.
Foster went on to write very popular content over the next 2 decades. Titles like Oh Susanna,
I jumped aboard the telegraph and traveled down the river. Electric fluid magnified and killed 500 niggers. The Vulcan bus, the horse run off, I really thought I'd die. I shut my eyes to hold my breath, Susanna, don't you cry.
Included an Alabama banjo reference, and the banjo was an instrument that originated back in West Africa and was originally called banji. The instrument was then adapted into American culture and eventually used in minstrel shows. Aside from that, the song even used the N-word. And Gwine to Run All Night or Compton Races.
It is sing this song, doo-dah, doo-dah. The Camptown racetrack 5 miles long, oh-de-doo-dah day. I came down there with my hat caved in, doo-dah, doo-dah. I'd go back home with a pocket full of tin, oh-de-doo-dah day.
was an offensive song that mocked the dialect of colored people and talks about transients that bet on horses, mules, and cows to make money. Transients being homeless people, refugees, or other migrant workers who would travel across towns on various construction job sites. Thing is, thoroughbred horse racing had already been established at this time, and anything short of thoroughbred racing was looked at as a laughingstock and completely immoral. Stephen Foster continued to write songs that continued to mimic the expression of a colored person for much of his career, something that ultimately gave him the title of Father of American Music. If Stephen Foster is truly the individual that Americans believe should represent the creation of all American music, then what exactly does it mean to be American? I mean, I would imagine that the Father of American Music would be someone who made music for all Americans, right? And if not Stephen Foster, then who would be labeled the Father of American Music? This is What's Next TV, where I discuss current events and other relevant issues pertaining to social justice, inequality, discrimination, and diversity. See you next time.